Okay, Chair, I can confirm we're up and running on YouTube and you're free to go.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to the Town of Fort Erie Committee of Adjustment meeting of June 18th, 2020. Please note that this meeting is being live streamed on YouTube. I now call this meeting to order. This is a hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the purposes of both considering minor variance and consent applications. The committee members have been provided with all written comments received prior to the meeting. First, I would like to introduce you to the committee members and staff. Terry Moore, committee member. Chris Nutt, committee member. Kara Rach, secretary treasurer. Aaron Butler and Mackenzie Cece are our meeting hosts who will be providing back-end technical duties. And my name is Denise Fanoche, and I will be chairing tonight's meeting. You may wish to put your view on gallery view by clicking on the top right corner from the speaker view. Just provide you with a different viewing of who is speaking at once. We ask that you are also mindful of background noise for the duration of the meeting. Committee members are asked to mute their microphones until you are asked to speak. Please raise your hand if you would like to speak and vote by also raising your hand. Please note that attendees who have registered will remain in the waiting room via telephone or electronically until their application of interest is brought to the committee. Those participating online via Zoom will be asked by the chair to raise their virtual hand when they wish to speak. On the computer, you can do so by clicking on the participants at the bottom center of the screen and then by clicking raise hand. If you are on a mobile device, you can tap raise hand at the bottom left corner. You will then be called upon to speak. Your microphone will be unmuted by staff. If you are participating by phone, you will be unmuted by staff when the agenda item that you have registered for is being discussed. We ask that each attendee keep their comments to 10 minutes to allow all attendees the opportunity to speak. Applicants and attendees are advised that they are free to leave the webinar once a decision has been made on your application. How we will proceed tonight is in the following order. First order, Secretary Treasurer will summarize the purpose and effect of the application and any comments received. Second, the applicant called upon to speak and make any further comments if they wish. Third, the committee members will ask questions of the applicant. Fourth, any registered attendees, that's the public, will be asked to speak one at a time. And we will also ask you to state your full name and address for the record. Any comments that you may have towards the application. Number 5, the chair will close the application once all comments have been heard. And then 6, finally, the committee members will ask if to make a decision and they'll either approve, refuse, or defer and state if any conditions apply. We also ask that you please address your comments and questions through the chair. Each application will be heard in the order in which they appear on the agenda. The notice of decisions will be provided to all applicants stating the outcome of the hearing and any conditions of the approval if required. Please note that correspondence and comments received this evening are restricted to the matters of the Committee of Adjustment and the Planning Act. In considering each application this evening, the Committee of Adjustment will have due regard for the provisions of Section 45 and Section 53 of the Ontario Planning Act of 1990 as amended. A 20-day appeal period exists for each application heard this evening. Final appeal dates are noted on the notice of the decision and are available by requesting a copy in writing. Any person, corporation, or public body has the right to appeal a committee decision or any conditions on a consent approval and may submit an appeal to the local planning appeal tribunal within the allowable period of time. Further instructions for filing on the appeal are available on the notice of decision. I will begin by asking committee members present if they have any conflicts of interest with respect to any of the applications to be heard this evening. And I'll start with Terry.
I do not, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And Chris?
I do not, Madam Chair.
And nor do I. I will now ask the Secretary Treasurer if notice of this meeting was properly given in accordance with the provisions of the Ontario Planning Act.
Yes, it has been.
And have you received any requests for adjournment or withdrawal respecting any of tonight's applications?
No, we have not to date.
Okay, thank you. I now ask if members have any further corrections to the minutes of May 21st meeting.
I have none.
I have none.
All right, and I have none. So if there are no further corrections, the minutes will stand approved as circulated. Okay, now we will proceed with our first application. The first application is consent file B02/20, 528 Scott Avenue. The applicant is Lou Biaggi and the owner is Roberto Biaggi. And I'll ask if you are ready to proceed this evening.
Yes,
Yes.
we're ready to proceed.
Okay, great, thank you. And Kara, will you please read all correspondence and comments?
I will. Just a quick note on the report that was provided to the Committee of Adjustment. There was an error in the applicant and the owner names. They were switched. However, both applicant and owner are here for the purpose of the hearing. The purpose and effect, this consent application proposes a creation of a new lot for residential development in the Crescent Park neighborhood. A single detached dwelling that currently straddles both Part 1 and 2 will be relocated onto Part 2 and will continue its residential use. Both parts meet lot frontage and lot area requirements of the R1 zoning. The R1 zoning minimum frontage is 18 meters for interior lots and a lot area of 600 square meters. The proposal to create an infill residential lot in the urban area is consistent with provincial, regional, and town planning policy and represents good planning. Public comments were received from two abutting property owners to the east of this consent application. Both were concerned about drainage impacts to their properties resulting from new development that will occur following approval of the severance. One resident was also concerned that moving of the existing house will cause disruption to the surrounding neighborhood. The property owner abutting the subject land to the north submitted comments through a legal representative stating that the opposition of the proposal as a result of an adverse possession claim over a portion of the subject property. This resulted in the application being deferred from the May 18th Committee of Adjustment hearing date to today's date. Planning staff note that the building permits needed to be obtained from the town of Fort Erie to move the existing dwelling and to develop future residential dwelling on Part 1. One of the standard requirements of applying for a building permit is submission of a grading plan that demonstrates that no adverse drainage impacts will occur on adjacent properties. This will also be required as a condition from the town's Infrastructure Services Department for the consent application. The town only reviews drainage concerns resulting from new development. Any existing drainage issues are a legal matter between the adjacent property owners. Staff appreciate that while new construction and the relocation of a dwelling will be disruptive to the neighborhood. However, the subject property is zoned residential 1, which permits the development of single detached dwellings. Staff note that all new construction is subject to the regulations of the noise bylaw, which prohibits construction from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. in an effort to reduce impacts on neighbors. The residents may contact the bylaw enforcement staff if the construction occurs outside of these hours. This application was deferred to the June 18th meeting to provide time for an issue to be settled for the abutting property owner to file a claim of adverse possession. The issue has been settled between the two property owners. The Committee of Adjustment may now decide on the matter without the adverse possession claim affecting its consideration. There were no further objections from staff or agencies with the following conditions stated within the report. 5% cash in lieu of parkland dedication. A building permit be obtained to relocate the dwelling. The shed be removed. A $500 fee for a new tree. Lot grading plan is to be submitted and approved. A service connection permit will be required, as well as a reference and legal plan description, and that the final consent certificate be obtained prior to the owner selling or building on the lot. That concludes your comments.
Thank you. Mr. Biaggi, would you care to comment on the application or correspondence received?
I think everything was pretty clear. The only issue was is the grading, and we're cognizant of that. This lot, for some reason, seems to be lower than the other lots and does collect water. So we've submitted a grading plan from our surveyor showing that we will collect that water and direct it between the two lots to the catch basin in front of the near the street.
Yeah.
So we're waiting for response on that, and we can modify that if required. So we will definitely address the drainage issue to make sure that there's no water pooling at the back of the lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the committee members have any questions of the applicant? I'll start with Chris.
Yes, I do. I noticed that on the sketch where the driveway is of the new proposed driveway, there is a fire hydrant located there. There's no reference to it in any of the reports, or there's no measurement given on the drawing to say how far away from that tree stump the driveway is going to start, because it looks to me from the drawing that the new driveway will go directly over the fire hydrant. Is there plans to move that, or can you just explain how this is going to line up so the fire hydrant's not impacted if it's not going to be moved?
Well, we can always relocate the drivers or angle it so it doesn't impact the fire hydrant. I just don't know if there's a requirement for distance required. I know around a tree it's 1 meter, I believe. So we will address that at some point with the staff to make sure the driveway does not impact the fire hydrant.
Yeah, it looks like it might be just a little more than 2 meters away, because the edge of the garage, the new proposed garage, so the property line is 2 meters. But I on your drawing, the fire hydrant's just not listed there, so I don't know where it falls. It's definitely within that 2 meter zone. It's just I'm not 100% sure if it's at the very edge of where the driveway is, or if it's actually in where you propose a new driveway. So if maybe we can just have that addressed, that'd be great.
Sure.
Are you looking at the Severance sketch? It looks as though they have a fire hydrant on the sketch, and they're proposing to stay 1 meter north of the fire hydrant.
Yeah, I'm looking at the sketch for Severance application, but where they've denoted it, it doesn't look to be accurate when you actually visit the property. It looks like it's a little bit more to the, I guess, the north maybe. So I see where it is, like where it says fire hydrant, like the FH, right center line of ditch where the FH is, but I don't, it says 1 meter there for fire hydrant. I just don't know if that's
what they're proposing is to stay 1 meter north.
Stay 1 meter away. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. It looked like, of course, I understand the drawing is not to scale, but from where the tree is, the fire hydrant looks further north than indicated on the drawing. That's all. That was my main concern is where it was. I kind of got out a tape measure and kind of X'd it on the sketch myself. So, as long as it's...
The sketch was prepared by a surveyor, so it should be fairly accurate.
Yeah. Okay.
And, we'll make sure that we comply with that 1 meter requirement.
Yeah. No problem. That's really the only question I had. Just didn't really look as quite accurate on the sketch.
Okay. Terry, do you have any questions of the applicant?
I have no questions.
Okay. And I have none as well. Does anyone in the audience wish to comment? Please raise your virtual hand and we will bring you in.
Chair, I'm just going to move the owner and agent back into the attendee area.
Okay. So once they'll put the agent and owner back, and we'll bring our new commenter, and then we'll bring the owner and agent back after.
And as the chair said, if you are here to speak to this item, you can raise your virtual hand by pressing the button on your computer. If you are on a telephone, and Chair, you can remind people of this next time, you can actually press *9 on your telephone to indicate that you'd like to speak. So if there's anyone call-in users that are here for this item, You can press *9 now, and we'll see that you are here to speak to this item. We'll just give a few seconds to those in the attendee area. I'm seeing none, Chair. I'm seeing no hands raised. I don't believe anyone is here to speak to this item.
Okay, so if we are have nobody in the audience who wishes to comment, I'll just give the committee members one more time if they have any more questions. Chris, any more questions of the applicant?
No, I don't have any.
Terry, okay. And does the applicant have any further comments? If the applicant does not have any more further comments, we will consider this portion closed.
Just bringing them back in now.
Sorry, we have no further comments.
Okay, thank you. So now we'll, this public hearing portion for this file is now closed, and I'll ask the members present to express their views on the proposal, and I'll start with Terry.
The new lot and the retained parcel both meet the minimum frontage and area requirements. It's consistent with the provincial policy statement and represents an efficient use of land. So I'll be voting in favor.
Okay, thank you. And Chris?
I'll be voting in favor as well, as this does meet the town's official plan, as well as the province's for infill development. The lots do meet the zoning requirement. The proposed dwellings are desirable to what's in the neighborhood, so I'll be supporting this.
Okay, very good. I'll now entertain a motion with any conditions on the application.
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair, that the consent application B02/20 be approved with the conditions as requested.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Okay, so the motion is carried. Your application has been approved. You will receive written notice of the committee's decision. Decision will become final so long as no appeals are received within 20 days of the notice. And we thank you for attending this evening.
Okay, thank you very much for consideration. Appreciate it. Thank
Yes.
you.
Here. Okay. Okay, the next consent application that we have before us is B08/20 and B09/20. It is 0-10299 and 996 Arthur Street. The applicant is Upper Canada Consultants, William Haiku, and the owner is Ashton Homes and Parkland Homes. Are you ready to proceed this evening?
Good evening.
Mr.
Yes,
Haiku?
I am.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask Kara to read all related correspondence and comments, please.
This consent application proposes a boundary adjustment between 996 Arthur Street and 0 Arthur Street. The proposal is to swap two parts that are equal in lot area via a boundary adjustment in order for the former parcel configuration that aligns with the draft approved Peace Bridge Village Phase 2 plan of subdivision. Planning staff support this boundary adjustment application. The boundary adjustment will reconfigure the parcel boundaries of 996 Arthur Street and 0 Arthur Street to match the parcel fabric of the future Peace Bridge Village Phase 2 subdivision. Development on the subject lands is consistent with provincial, regional, and town planning policies. Cash in lieu of parkland dedication is not required at this time, as no new lot is being created through a boundary adjustment. No objections were received from staff, agencies, or the public, with the following conditions: that a legal description and reference plan be provided, and that final consent certificates are obtained before selling or building on the lots. That concludes.
Mr. Haiku, would you like to make any comments on the application or any of the correspondence received tonight?
Sure. Just briefly, throughout the spring, I went through a process and rezoned and received draft plan of subdivision approval on the subject lands. Really, it was a draft plan that was put together with 2 different home builders. So this process for the boundary adjustment is just recognizing the end result of a cost sharing agreement that was put together to facilitate that draft plan of subdivision. So what we're looking to do here is to adjust the boundary between the 2 parties' land holdings so that we can execute the cost sharing agreement and proceed to registering the phases of development separately. So each builder ends up results in owning their agreed upon lots and blocks as an outcome of that draft plan of subdivision. So it's just really a process to execute that agreement between the 2 developers. So I'm here if you have any questions about that.
Okay, thank you. Chris, Chris, we'll start with Chris. Do you have any questions of the applicant?
I do not have any questions of the applicant at this time.
Okay, Terry, do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
No, nor do I. Does anyone in the audience wish to comment? If you could please raise your virtual hand. Remember, if you're on that cell phone, it's *9.
I'm seeing none, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And are the committee members ready to express their views? Are we gonna, if you're ready to express your views, I will close the public hearing portion.
I'm ready.
Okay. So now they close the public hearing portion and I'll ask the members to express their views on the proposal. And I'll start with Chris.
I'm going to vote in favor of this consent. It meets the 4 tests. It creates lots that will line up with the subdivision plan. So it meets policies on all levels. And the new lots are not going to conflict with the zoning bylaws. So I'm going to vote in favor of this.
Okay, thank you. And Terry?
The 2 boundary adjustments follow approval of the official plan amendment. It results in parcel configuration consistent with the draft approval of subdivision. So I will be voting in favor.
Okay, I'll now entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that file B0820 and B0920 be approved with conditions stated by staff for 996 Arthur Street and 0 Arthur Street.
Okay, thank you. And second there. Okay, we have a seconder. So now all in favor? Okay, all in favor. So the motion is carried. Your application has been approved. You will receive written notice of the committee's decision. Decision will become final so long as no appeals are received within 20 days of the notice. And we thank you for attending this evening.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too. Take care. Okay, so the next application before us is minor variance file A09/20. It's 50 Lillian Place. The applicant is JP Designs, Jason Pizzarola. The owners are Robert Morton and Bernadette Lalor Morton. And are you ready to proceed tonight, Mr. Pizzarola?
I am.
Okay. Carol, would you please read all correspondence and comments received?
Purpose and effect of this application is to facilitate the proposed construction of a 2-story dwelling with a covered front porch on an existing vacant lot. The applicant requests an increase to the maximum lot coverage for the proposed 2-story dwelling to 40%, where the zoning bylaw permits 30% on a lot size with an area less than 510 square meters. The applicant is also requesting a decrease to the minimum rear yard setback to 7.5 meters, where the zoning bylaw permits 8 meters. And the applicant is also requesting a decrease to the minimum interior side yard setback to 1.5 meters, where the zoning bylaw permits 2 meters for an interior side yard setback for an infill lot. Comments. Planning staff do support the application. It meets the 4 tests of the minor variance. There were no further objections from the staff. The region does state that it has high archaeological potential, and in that they are requesting that an archaeological assessment be submitted to the town for approval for stage 1 and 2. And also staff have asked that a tree fee be submitted of $500. There were some comments received from nearby neighbors with regards to the application as well. And I believe the neighbor is online as well, so he will provide any further comments or questions that he may have. That concludes.
Thank you. Mr. Piz-Carola, would you like to make any comments on the application or the correspondence received?
Yes, I would. Yeah, so obviously the lots here on the street are smaller than typical. So really, we're putting a house on there that is not very large, and we're still not necessarily complying with the bylaw. So I think 0.5 meters is reasonable. We've been very efficient with the house. We've done as much as we can. Reduction of the side yard, I think, is also reasonable. And overall, the square footage of the house too, I think it's not a large house. So I think all 3 are really within reason and a characteristic of the adjacent properties. And I believe that's it.
Okay, thank you. Do the committee members have any questions of the applicant? I'll start with Terry.
I had one question. One of the conditions, they were requesting a new street tree. Mm-hmm. And if the other one was damaged, well, was I missing something? I saw a dead ash. Was there another tree on there?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I don't recall a tree right at the front there, to be honest, when I was just out on site. So I'm not sure, to be honest there.
Okay. Do you have an issue with the conditions?
I don't think there's an issue adding a tree to the conditions. I have, sorry, I should say I do have a bit of an issue with the archaeological report. I had sent a message out to the region, but I haven't heard back from them. Sometimes on other developments that are potentially sensitive to findings there, we've asked for a clause put into the agreement whereby it says if we find anything, then we will call an archaeologist. So that would be fantastic. We can go down that route, because a report for phase 1 and 2 will be well over $2,000. So we're just hoping to save the client, the owner, a little bit of money there. The dig is not very deep. It is a slab on grade house, so it'll have a perimeter frost wall. And if that wouldn't be considered, then we would prefer to potentially hire a consultant the day of the dig, because it'll be a short dig. It'll be probably only half the day, as an alternative to a phase 1 and phase 2 report. So ideally you would consider that. Sorry to get away from the tree topic there.
That's okay, thank you.
Chris, do you have any questions of the applicant? Oh, I think you're muted there. If you were.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I do not have any questions for the applicant. And just to Terry's comment about the tree, I did see a dead ash tree there as well. So if he's not proposed, I mean, replanting it would be fantastic, or putting another tree in would be great.
Okay. I have just a couple questions. So looking at the plan you submitted, it says, looks like the second floor. Is it only like a partial second floor?
That's correct.
Okay.
So just above the garage.
All right. Okay. And would you consider that a full, or will it be kind of like story and a half or full 2-story?
We're considering it a full 2-story, even though it's not. It's only over maybe it's maybe 40% of the main floor.
Yeah, it's only over it's a portion of the house.
It's only over the garage, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so if you could just explain again the concern about the stage 1, stage 2.
Well, it's just a considerable cost for such a small property. Really, it's a very small dig, and considering like if stage 1 and stage 2 pretty much cost the same for a much larger project, like a larger commercial build or a subdivision. Okay. So it's just a large expense for the small dig, and I think there's other ways to go about it potentially that will be just as successful.
And you tried to reach out to the region, and because this was June 15th that we got the report from them, probably just not able to get any kind of confirmation back from them.
That's correct. I put in the request tonight to believe Lola.
Okay.
It was either yesterday or the day before.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to comment on this application before us? You could raise your hand or hit that *9, and Aaron will bring you in.
Well, Chair, I do have one member of the public that I will bring in as a panelist in just a moment.
Okay. So once the member of the public is brought in, if you could please state your name and your address for us.
Chair, if you could just repeat that. There is a bit of a delay when they're coming in. There's about a 5-second delay where they kind of lose audio. But you can repeat that now that they're in.
Sure. So last, the member of public that just joined our presentation portion, if you could please state your name and your address for us.
Oh, hi, my name is Glenn Fulton, and I live at 46 Lillian. I own both properties adjacent to 50. And I don't oppose the development. I just had some concerns with my future plans. At 46, I plan to build a garage. And at 54, I plan to build a house someday. And I just wasn't sure if the side variances would affect my plans. So that was my concern.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get a picture of where your properties were. If you could just bear with me here. So is 46 north or south of? 40?
South. 46 is south and 54 is north.
Okay. So
I live on, yeah.
So which is the one you're concerned about?
A garage on 46 and a house on 54.
Okay.
I know it's just a minimum. I think it was 0.5 meter, but I don't know if that makes a big difference when I go to construct.
So when you go to construct your garage, you'll have to also have similar.
It'll be very similar, yes.
Right.
I realize that.
Sorry?
I realize that, yes.
Okay. So if we approve the 1.5 meter, because the reduction, currently they're asking for 2 meter, and he's requesting a reduction in the side yard to 1.5 meters. So I don't think that would have any impact on what you would be seeking, right? And if anything, it might give you an advantage for yourself to have a 1.5 meter setback on your garage.
Sure, yeah.
Because currently the zoning for an existing house is 1.5 meters is the side yard. So
okay.
So in this case, they're not reducing it any farther than what an existing house would be required to have. It's because this is considered an infill that there is a stipulation in the zoning bylaw that says 2 meters.
Sure. Okay, that's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for attending. Any other audience members that would like to speak?
I'm seeing none, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Do the committee members have any further questions of the applicant?
I have none.
Okay.
I have none.
Okay, nor do I. And Mr. Pizzarola, do you have any further comments you want to add before we consider closing the public hearing?
I have no further comments.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask the committee members now if they're ready to make a decision. Public hearing portion is now closed. Terry, will you express your views on the proposal?
Yeah, this is an existing lot of record, and development would be an efficient use of this land. It's consistent with provincial policy statement regarding infill lots. Both the setbacks and the lot coverage are consistent with other properties on the street. As far as the conditions, I support both conditions of the archaeological assessment and the street tree. It's an area where they found all kinds of artifacts in that area, and I think it would be remiss if we decided not to do that. So I will be supporting the application.
Okay, thank you. Chris?
I'll be supporting the application for the same reasons. It's good use of an infill lot. It's not, it's going to be very similar to lot coverage to other properties in that area. I too am going to support the recommendations as stated for the archaeological and the street tree. It's a very sensitive area, and much like Terry stated, committee member Moore, I just want to make sure that we err on the safe side. We take the maximum precaution that we can.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I will now entertain a motion with conditions on, with any conditions on this application.
I will make a motion, Madam Chair, that minor variance file A0920 be approved with the conditions as requested.
I will second that.
All right, and all in favor? Show of hands. Okay, the motion is carried. Your application has been approved. You will receive written notice of the committee's decision. Decision will become final so long as no appeals are received within 20 days of the notice. And we thank you for attending this evening. I guess you're staying around though, because you're on the next one. Okay, so that one's done. We'll start with the next one. The next one is minor variance file A10/20, and it's 344 Ridge Road North. Applicant JP Designs, Jason Pizzarola. Owners 771647 Ontario Limited, Brad Brutton. Are you ready to proceed this evening with this application? Okay, so Kara, will you please read all correspondence and comments?
The purpose and effect of this application is to reduce the access width, the drive access width from 4.5 meters to 4 meters, and location to another driveway from 7.5 meters to 1 meter, and to reduce the rear planting strip from 3 meters to 1 meters to permit the construction of a 3-story building with commercial units on the first floor and residential units on the second and third floor. Town staff and agencies support the application with the following conditions: that a 1.8 meter high closed board privacy fence be constructed along the south and east property lines adjacent to the parking area, and that the owner and applicant also contact Canadian Niagara Power to obtain a work order to upgrade the existing service to the property. Public comments were received. We did receive 1 in favor of the application and 3 in opposition to the application. There were some concerns with the garbage, with some snow removal, etc. And the reduced front distancing from 3 meters to 1 meter, and concerns about the overshadowing along the view of the street and the sidewalk for the commercial front which will change the streetscape. And that concludes your comments for that application.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to make any comments on the application or correspondence that we've received tonight?
Yes, I'll just go through those different variances. So the driveway situation is an existing condition. So the house currently has the driveway located there. So I don't see it there. Also, the driveway width is also an existing condition. It's at 4.09. So we're just going to 4 in case siding was added. So they're also existing condition, not ideal, but they've been living with it for a long time. So we don't see a concern there. The reduction for landscape is just due to the fact that we want to accommodate all the parking for the units. So that's a good thing. That means that we're not going for a variance on parking, and which would take up parking spaces from the commercial street. And the owner has no issues with putting up a board-on-board fence along the south, along the east. And my understanding is the owner to the north would also like a fence, and the owner of this parcel, or Brad Breton, does not have an issue putting a fence there as well, and near that amenity space. In terms of the massing of the building, I think that 3 stories is adequate. I have a 3-story building down the street a little bit. Proportionally, I think we've broken down the scale of the building into 3 segments in the front. So that helps reduce the scale. Residential in downtown cores is very much needed for a safe community, as well as housing and viability of commercial. They all really link together. So you do need more commercial. There's very few commercial units available right now. I have a lot of people that call me continuously looking for commercial space. So I think this will assist greatly with 2 to 3 new commercial units. Regarding garbage collection, so the region has, in the original comments, because we're going through a site plan process as well right now.
Okay.
Right. So we're addressing all the different governing authorities questions, and earlier they stated that they do not have a concern with curbside pickup for garbage. So the enclosure that we're providing at this point is above and beyond what we need to provide. So probably I think it's Monday night, Tuesday morning, the garbage trucks come around and they can put their waste at the curbside. Now that works up to 7 bins that they will allow, the region. So we decided to put some bins in behind the stair at the back there, so that in the future, there's not an issue with too much garbage being put there. And if there is, then the region will force the owner to change that situation. So I don't see garbage being a concern at this point. Sorry, back to the massing of the building too. It's about 9 feet from the adjacent building to the south. So it is forward about 9 feet further than that building. So it's not really inconsistent with the adjacent building either. Other than that, that's my comments. I don't think I have anything else.
Okay, thank you. Terry, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Just one, just to be clear, we're not dealing with the additions here. The additions meet the setbacks and everything else, correct? We're only dealing with the driveways and the, whatever, the strip on the back, correct?
That is correct. So the drive access, the existing situation of the pinch point of the existing building, the new building is stepped back further, so that's not a problem. And then really the landscape strips on the south and east, which we're providing board fence for.
Right.
I
And
believe
you're going to construct a fence now all the way down the north side too?
Definitely in the amenity space. I have not had an opportunity to speak with the adjacent neighbor. I don't think the owner did as well. It just came in today that there's a concern, and the owner has no problem addressing that concern. We have to be cognizant of the fact that we don't want to restrict this driveway any further than what it is though. So
right.
that would be our concern. But fencing off the back portion of it would not be a problem where the amenity space is.
Yeah, well, it certainly indicated the owner to the north had no objections to the three variances that you're requesting. So, okay, thank you.
I'm just going to point out, Terry, that the core mixed use 4 zone, CMU4, the setbacks are all at 0 for the zoning itself. And in our proposal, we meet those. None of them are at 0, right? So they do. So the required setbacks are 0. Okay, Chris, do you have any questions of the applicant?
No, I don't have it. Jason actually answered the question I had in the presentation, so.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to reiterate, I guess, that the reduction in the parking, not the parking, the drive access 4 meters, that's to recognize an existing. So that's considered quite minor, as well as the space between the 2 neighboring properties, right? That space between the 2 neighboring properties has gone on for many, many, many years. So also minor in nature. So I'll now ask anyone in the audience who wishes to comment, please raise your hand or select *9, and Aaron will be able to bring you in.
Chair, I do see one hand up, at least for now. I'll bring in this participant. And again, just give this participant a few seconds.
Okay.
You'll see them pop up on the screen. And just while they're coming in, I'll just remind committee members to just be mindful of your background noise and kind of paper shuffling and that kind of stuff. We're getting a bit of feedback. So just you can mute and unmute yourselves in between conversation. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so for the audience member who has been brought in, could you please state your name and your address prior to providing your comments, please?
My name is Keith Overend. I live at 348 Ridge Road North, the property immediately to the north of the applicant's property.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Jason. We've actually met many times.
Okay. Could you please express your concerns?
Well, as I said in my letter, I don't have any direct concerns about the application. Jason's right. It's an existing driveway. It's an existing situation between the 2 driveways. Mm-hmm. And the privacy strip along the back and the south don't affect me at all. If my neighbor's happy, I'm happy. I would like to have a fence built along the property line because, of course, I am actually a residential property. It's been residential usage for decades. And I'm a heritage building. This is one of the few designated heritage buildings in downtown Ridgeway. And I would like to sort of protect the integrity of that as much as possible in terms of the siting. I've been able to talk to a planning representative today, so they've massaged a lot of my problems. First of all, about the garbage skip, I've been told not to worry my pretty little head about that. Garbage will take care of itself. Only I should ask that whatever garbage solutions are done in the future, that nothing ever be placed on the amenity strip next to my property. So the one immediately to the south of my property line. I'm just worried about eventually if a skip has to be placed in an enclosure, you know, that what was a grassy strip becomes a garbage enclosure. I really
right,
about that.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, then I don't have to worry about snow because that's plenty of area to place snow. You know, no matter how serious we get snowfalls, you know, plenty of storage space right there. A solid wood fence will ensure that all the snow stays on the applicant's property. That I'm trying to grow a brand new hedge along the driveways between us, and in the winter, if there's a snowplow coming on, it's going to crush any new bushes every year. A wooden fence will prevent that. I'm willing to talk to them about placing the fence on my property for the northern or for the western portion if they pay for it. That's not a problem because I've got a fence running down eastern portion of the property already. So I don't mind the fence being on my property, thereby giving him every last little inch he needs for his driveway. as long as, like I say, he's going to pay the money for it. And I don't even necessarily need a 7-foot fence along that portion. A 3-foot section, all the way to with the end of the building would probably be fine. It's more, like I say, to define where the driveways are, to stop residents from veering onto my hedge line and stuff, and to make sure that snow plows don't cause any destruction on my side. Visually, I'm only concerned about the back part of the property because that's my backyard. That's where I live. Right.
Your own amenity area.
And to speak a little bit to the architecture of the building, I've been very involved in history and heritage properties for a long time. And if one notes carefully up and down Ridge Road, the architecture of the commercial section is a box. That is the shape of virtually every commercial building up and down the street. So nobody should have any objection to the fact that this is another box. That's what we build. That's how we maximize the property usage. And it's been that way for 150 years. The other thing you'll notice if you walk out on the street is an awful lot of these boxes stuck on the front of old houses, because that too is what we do. There's an old house on the lot. We want to expand on it. We stick a box on the front. Again, that's the heritage of Ridgeway. To deny that is to say, to falsify our history. So you can't really object to those, to this building on any of those property reasons, because it's not right. From a heritage perspective, he's following 150 years of history. So, I commend him for that. And like I said, I have no problems at all. If we can work this fence thing out, we're golden.
Okay. I'll ask Jason, do you have any further comments right now based on our audience comment?
I do. So thank you, Keith, for that. I appreciate it. I just want to definitely make sure we're clear on this fence here. So the back portion near the amenity space, do you want that as a 6-foot high fence, which is being done on the east and south, and then step down along the drive down to, I think you said 3 feet?
I think that's what he said, yeah.
Along the drive. Is that correct?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And in fact, on further thought, because of course this idea has just popped into my head a few minutes ago, I don't see why we can't build a whole fence on my property, saving you those few inches all the way down the side of your property, including on your amenity space.
Well, yeah, I don't think the owner would have an issue with that whatsoever. It's just I definitely don't want to restrict the driveway anymore. So on your side,
exactly.
There, I just want to make sure we got the height the correct way. So is it 3 feet?
6 or 7 feet, whatever the maximum is allowed for privacy fences. Whatever you're doing for whatever's happening with our buddy to the south,
right,
and to the east.
We'll
match that.
For the portion that is behind the existing house.
Yeah, exactly. Where the driveway opens up and where they can, afford to make the changeover. The front part of our house, we're hoping to have a beautiful hedge along there eventually to disguise everything anyway. We don't need a couple of extra feet of board fence to try to mask a 30-foot high building. Right. That's kind of silly.
Okay, Kara?
Through you, Madam Chair. Just a quick note to both the applicant and to Mr. Overend that the fencing bylaw should be taken into consideration prior to building and designing the fence.
Okay, thank you. So
yeah, I'm sure it's 15 feet back, 3 feet high, and then 7 feet high all the way into the backyard. And like I said, I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for 3 feet high all the way back to, the beginning of the backyard, and then whatever 6 or 7 feet.
Right.
We don't want to exceed the fencing bylaw in any way. We don't want to step on anybody's toes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to comment on this application before us?
Chair, did you want me to move Mr. Overend into the attendee area?
Yes, please.
I'm not seeing any other hands up. If I can just ask Kara, were there any others that you see in the attendee areas that you think I should bring in? You're muted, Kara.
I believe that anybody who had if shown some interest in the application is in attendance. If they wish to speak, it's noted that they should raise their hand now. If they do not wish raise their hand to speak, then we will assume they have no further comments on the application and we will move on to the concluding the application.
Okay, so I'm not seeing any other hands raised, Chair.
Okay. Okay, I'll ask the committee members if they have any further questions of the applicant.
I have none.
I have none.
Okay, I just have a question for Kara. So the fence to the north, is that something that we can place into this minor variance, or is that something that can be taken care of through site plan?
I believe it can be taken care of through the owner and the applicant, both the neighbor to the north sound like they're both willing to work on it. I don't believe it should be made a condition of the application, but that is at your discretion of the committee, of course. I believe the fence is a condition on the east and the south property line, but I will leave that to the committee's discretion.
Okay, thank you. So we have no further questions. Does the applicant have any further comments?
The only comment I'd like to make is, yeah, we're not complete our site plan application yet, so the fence can make it onto that site plan.
Okay. And are the members ready to make a decision? If you're ready to make, okay. Terry, you ready to make a decision?
I am.
Okay, we'll consider the public hearing regarding this now closed, and I'll ask the members present to express their views on the proposal. Start with Chris.
I'm going to support the application. I think I really like what they've done with putting it at the back. Jason's done some good work in recognizing the existing issues in the site and making sure that those are all being addressed at this time. It meets the zoning bylaws. It meets good planning policy, and it's a good use of the back half of the lot. And it sounds like the neighbors are in favor of it, so I'll be supporting the application.
Okay, and Terry?
I'll be supporting the application as well. Further to the comments that Chris made, the one thing, there should be a minimize of any negative effects to the surrounding properties with the addition of this fence. So I'll be supporting.
Okay. I'll now entertain a motion with conditions.
Okay, I move that minor variance file 10/20 be approved with the staff recommended conditions.
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
Okay, so all in favor? All right, so your motion is carried. Your application has been approved. You will receive written notice of the committee's decision. Decision will become final so long as no appeals are received within 20 days of the notice. And we thank you for attending.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Take care.
So Chair, just now, I'm going to hand over the host on the meeting to Mackenzie Cece from the Planning Department for the last two items, just to kind of do a bit of training here tonight as well. So just bear with us just for a few seconds, and Mackenzie will let in the next owner when she gets the host duty. So just bear with us just for a minute. Okay, so Mackenzie should have controls now, and I'll just mute myself over here.
Okay, we should be good to go.
Okay, thank you. So now the next application before us is minor variance file A11/20, and it is 1908 Ridge Road North. The applicants are Donald and Bonnie Carver. And Ms. Carver, are you ready to proceed tonight?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I think we're having a slightly hard time hearing you, so.
Well, actually, Dawn's going to do the talking.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so are you ready to proceed?
Yes.
Okay. So Kara, will you please read all related correspondence and comments, please?
Purpose and effect of this application is to request an increase to the maximum projection of a covered porch into the rear yard in the agricultural zone. The proposal to permit a 6.5 meter projection into the covered porch of the rear yard is minor, as the increased projection to the rear yard is a result of an irregular shaped lot, the undersized nature of the property, and the Schisler Road allowance to the east of the property. The proposed porch is located to the rear of the dwelling, and the reduced setback will not adversely affect any neighboring parcels or the streetscape. There were no further objections from staff, agencies, or the public received, and no conditions were imposed onto the application. That concludes.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any comments on the application or the correspondence, Mr. Carver?
No.
Okay. Do the committee members have any questions of the applicant? We'll start with Chris.
I do not have any questions.
And Terry, do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Okay. Nor do I have any questions. The application is fairly straightforward. I'll ask any audience members if they wish to comment. Please raise your virtual hand or press *9.
I'm seeing no one, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. So are members ready to make a decision? If you're ready to make a decision, we will declare the public hearing portion closed. Okay. So I'll now ask the members present to express their views on the proposal, and we'll start with Chris.
Yeah, I'm going to support in favor of this. There really is no impact to the lot, really no impact to the neighbors. The neighbors are quite some distance away, so they're not really imposing on anybody here. And the Schisler Road allowance, it could be closed for the next 100 years. We're just not sure that we're that far yet in the expansion of our urban plans. So I think it's a good project. They're maximizing the use of the land that they have in the envelope. So I like it. I'm going to vote in favor of supporting it.
Okay, very good. Terry?
Yeah, I was going to make a comment too that I can't see Schisler Road ever being developed. You have to run through the rock and everything else.
That's right.
But it meets the 4 tests, and there is no impact to the neighbors. So I'll be supporting as well.
Okay, all right. So now I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair, that minor variance file A11 be approved.
I will second that, Madam Chair.
All right, all in favor? The motion is carried. Your application has been approved. You receive written notice of the decision. Decision will become final so long as no appeals are received within 20 days of the notice. And have a nice evening.
Thank you very much. You have a nice evening.
Take care. Okay, so now we're moving forward with minor variance file A12/20. It is 0 Albany Street, Bridgeview Townhouses. The agent is MBPC J. McGuffin. Applicant is Spockwood Developments. The owner is 1639877. Are you ready to proceed this evening?
Good evening, Madam Chair. Yes, we are. Thank you very much. I'm also joined this evening with, I'm sorry, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I'm also joined this evening with our client, Ms. Corey Marsh. She's the Vice President of Land Development for Foxwood Developments, as well as our Senior Design Technologist, Benedict Sankovics. She also works with me at Monteith Brown Planning.
Okay.
We've had an opportunity.
Oh, before you proceed, we're going to have Kara read all the correspondence, and then you can have the floor.
Got me all excited there.
Yeah. Kara, please read all the correspondence and comments.
The purpose and effect of this application is to request a reduction in the minimum distance between the buildings on the same lot from 15 meters to 12 meters, the width of ingress and egress driveway from 7.5 meters, and the width of the planting strip in the interior side yard of residential development with 3 or more units adjacent to a residential zone from 3 meters to 1.5 meters. No objections were received from staff, agencies, or the public. Fire noted that no parking would be allowed on the streets, but this will be addressed with other planning applications that are currently proceeded with the town as well. And there were no conditions imposed on the application. That concludes.
Okay. Would you like to make any comments on the application or correspondence before us?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to state that we've reviewed the report with our client, and we are supportive of staff's recommendations for approval. And I'll be available to answer any questions that the committee has or respond to questions of the public.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Terry, do you have any questions of the applicant?
Sorry, I have no questions.
Okay. Chris, do you have any questions of the applicant?
Sounds like someone won the jackpot.
Sorry.
No, I don't have any questions currently of the applicant.
Okay. Can't speak here. The reduction in the six meters from 7.5 meters. So the reduction for the lanes, is that just so that you can maintain the 5-meter setback from the building on the west side? It's kind of a feature of that, as well as maintaining 3 meters between the buildings. Is that why the reduction to the 6-meter aisle?
That's correct. In fact, the entire development had always been developed on a 6-meter right-of-way. We've been developing this, as committee may or may not be aware, this is a multi-phased process. So there was a previous plan of subdivision that created lots that are street fronting along King Street as part of phase 1. This is part of phase 2. So this has always been designed out of 6-meter right-of-way for various reasons. One, given the irregular shape of the site, makes it a little bit more difficult to provide for centerline radius for the emergency vehicles, the fire trucks, to get in and out of the building or the property, etc. So we've requested that reduced area. And the 6 meters is consistent with what is normally permitted as a minimum driveway width in many municipalities across the province.
Okay. Okay, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to comment on the application before us? If you raise your virtual hand or press *9 on your cell phone.
I'm seeing no one, Chair.
Okay. Do the committee members have any further questions of the applicant?
I have none.
I have none either.
Okay, nor do I. And are we ready to make a decision on the application?
We are.
I am.
All right, so the public hearing portion of this file is now closed. I'll now ask the members present if they would like to express their views. Chris.
I'm going to support the application. I'm been excited to see this development go for some time. So it meets the 4 tests. The reduction on the drive is minor in nature. It is good use of the land in regards to the official plan. So I'll be supporting the project.
Okay, and Terry?
I'll be supporting as well. It originally conformed to the Niagara and town official plans until they were changed through a housekeeping agreement. It does meet the 4 tests. The reduced separation between buildings should have minimum impact to the neighborhood, and it does still meet the requirements of the Ontario Building Code.
Okay. All right, so now I'll entertain a motion on the conditions of this application.
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair, that minor variance file A1220 be approved.
I will second that.
And there was no conditions, I don't think?
I don't believe there was.
No.
So so I have a motion. Do I have a second here? Sorry.
You did.
I did. Okay. I was looking at the papers. So we have a second.
Moved.
And
I seconded.
Okay. All in favor? Okay, so the motion is carried. Your application has been approved. You will receive written notice of the application. Final, as long as no appeals are received within 20 days of the notice. And thank you for attending tonight.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
Okay, so can I get a motion from the committee to process the signing of the decision heard by the majority of members electronically?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Second, okay. And any new business tonight? None. So the next meeting is scheduled for July 16th of 2020. And if no further business of the meeting, so the meeting is now adjourned at 7:10 p.m.
Thank you.
I have a question.